decried the violence unleashed by hoodlums and commiserated with the families of those who lost their lives. The president then appealed to protesters to suspend the ongoing protests and instead dialogue with the federal government. Now, besides highlighting some of the efforts of the federal government across sectors to cushion the impact of the twin economic policy, the president defended why the fuel subsidy is no longer an option. The president went on to ask security operatives to continue to secure lives and property, but insists that his administration will not tolerate anarchy, ethnic bigotry, and unconstitutional action.
I am especially pained by the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, and other states, the destruction of facilities in some states, and the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops, contrary to the promise of protest organizers that the protest will be peaceful across the country. The destruction of properties set us back as a nation, as scarce resources will be again used to restore them. I commiserate with the families and relations of those who have died in the protest. We must stop further bloodshed, violence, and destruction. As the president of this country, I must ensure public order in line with the constitutional oath to protect the lives and property of every citizen. Our government will not stand idly by and allow a few with a clear political agenda to tear this nation apart.
Why will anybody want to dialogue with a president that did not even acknowledge that people died? That is not holding the security agencies accountable for people dying. The president has not said, oh, give me 3 weeks, I will meet the demand.
If you watch what is going on now at the social media, some people carrying flag of Russia. They are not part of us. They are not the protesters.
The attacks on end bad governance protesters by security agencies. The statement reads in part, my primary concern quite predictably, is the continuing deterioration of the state's seizure of protest management, an area in which the presidential address fell conspicuously short. Such short-changing of civic deserving, regrettably, goes to arm the security forces in the exercise of impunity and condemns the nation to a seemingly unbreakable cycle of resentment and reprisals. Live bullets as state response to civic protest that becomes the core issue. Even tear gas remains questionable in most circumstances, certainly an abuse in the situation of clearly peaceful protest. That quote ended. Professor Soyinka explains that the tragic response to the ongoing hunger marches in parts of the nation, and for which notice was served, constitute a retrogression that takes the nation even further back than the deadly culmination of the watershed NSAS protest. According to him, the nation's security agencies cannot pretend to be unaware of alternative models for emulation, civilized advances in security intervention. It's not the only one. Senior advocate of Nigeria, Falana, has faulted the president's speech. He describes it as falling short in addressing the key demands of the protesters, especially at the reversal of the policy of withdrawal of fuel subsidies. The senior lawyer raises concern over the sincerity to combat criminality in the fuel subsidy scam. In his words, if the government takes the fight against corruption to oil dealers and crude oil is processed in government-owned refineries, there will be no basis for fuel subsidy, which is induced by importation of petroleum import or products. A positive response to the key demands of the youth to review the protesters could make them review their action. Insensitive to their demands can only provoke continued action. While congratulating the protesters for drawing the attention of politicians, Mr. Falana demanded that there should be an immediate and unconditional release of all protesters that were arrested and detained, saying they had not committed any criminal offense. He also condemned the repression of peaceful protesters while commiserating with all those who lost loved ones in the protest and asking government to set up a commission of inquiry to bring to justice those responsible for the reckless killing of citizens. Old Airport roundabout, where protesters have been gathering since commencement of the protest, which is in the 4th day. The worship service, which was attended by both Christians and Muslims, was a replica of the last Friday Jummah prayers offered by Muslim faithful at the same venue. With an increase in number compared to the previous gatherings, the protesters temporarily converted the venue to a temple with praises and worship songs to mark the day 4 of the protest. The protesters, they said they are not impressed with the president's broadcast on Sunday morning.
Can I invite you to a place of action? Nigeria belongs to you. You and I must begin to tell one another that we must hold our government to account. They must account for our common resources. If you think we are antagonizing you, then respond to our needs. We are thankful to the president for addressing the nation today. But his address is below the belt. It did not address us. You are a father. We know you have conscience. We know you love the people. When you said when you said it is my turn, it is because you believe you have something to give to us, your children. It is time for you to do that. And it is time for you to begin to look into your ranks.